Digital Textiles, and today I'm going to show you how I make my reusable makeup pads. So first up, you're going to need a load of scraps. I tend to use mostly French terry or cotton lycra, and you're going to need to cut these into circles. I use a coaster as a template. I've used this one since I first started making it. It's got a few chunks cut out of it now. So I put my fabric, I normally fold it a few times, 2 or 3, 4 times sometimes, onto my cutting mat, on with my coaster, and then I use a rotary cutter to cut those into circles. For your backing, you've got a couple of options. I usually stick with bamboo. Bamboo is naturally antibacterial, it's hypoallergenic, it's really absorbent, so it suits makeup pads perfectly. This one on the top is the bamboo terry toweling. It's lovely and soft, and again, like I said, bamboo's just really suited to makeup pads. There's a bamboo velour then as well, which is even softer than the terry. I do find it's a little bit thinner, but again, bamboo is, as it's so absorbent, even though it feels thin, you'll still be surprised at actually how well it holds your toner and stuff like that when you put it on to the pad. The other option that you've got is to use just a regular cotton terry. Now I find they're not as soft as the bamboo ones unless you get one that's got a poly blend to it, which I don't particularly like. It is so much cheaper than bamboo, so there's that to weigh up as well. When I first started making them, I just went to the supermarket and I got myself a really cheap £3 bath towel and made some out of that, and they were fine. I didn't like to use them around my eyes because they were a little bit more harsh, but the bamboo, I don't have any problems ever with removing my makeup from around my eyes with those. So yeah, so go and cut a load using a template. A circle. This one is 4 inches, by the way, and that's the size I make them, but you can do whatever suits you, bigger or smaller, or whatever you've got, whatever size your coaster is. So go and do that. In regards to the terry toweling, I cut mine into strips and then cut them up then so they make squares that are a little bit bigger than this, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm going to go cut those and then I'll be back. So I just wanted to show you really quickly me cutting the terry. As you can see, I've just folded it in half. This is a metre, so I folded it into its ½ metre, and then I just used this to cut off a strip along the top, and now I'm just cutting it out into squares. Okay, so now you should have a pile of squares and a pile of circles. So get your circle and place it on top of your square. Now you can put a few pins in here if you want. I used to pin one on either side when I first started. I don't bother anymore. I find it slows me down a bit, and once you kind of get into your technique, you'll find that you won't need your pins anymore. So I'm going to go and bring my overlocker into view so you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can see from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the line of my circle. I'm going to match that up to my blade, so I'm not cutting any of the circle, I'm just going to be cutting the square. So I'm going to put it in and just start wherever, really. Put your blade on, which mine isn't, and start going really slowly. So I'm just going to go down till I meet this bit. I'm going to cut all the way down, so I start cutting and then I can start following the circle, if that makes sense. So if I slow down so you can see. So I'm at the top of that circle now, so now I want to start turning my fabric, and obviously this fabric's stretchy, so you just want to be careful that you're not stretching it out. You just want to be turning it with your square. So I tend to hold mine down, try to hold it as flat as possible, especially as it's going into your overlocker and under that blade and everything, because what you can find is that it can get folded up and all crumpled up. So just hold it flat down and try and just turn and use the pressure you can apply on your hands to to really kind of turn and force it round into a circle. Obviously go as slow as you can, which I know is a bit tricky sometimes on an overlocker. See how I'm turning? So I'm just following the edge of the circle and pulling, I suppose, as it's coming out of the back, I'm pulling and turning and pushing with my other hand to get it into that circular shape. And sometimes you'll see that it's just puckering up maybe a little bit here. I find if I just lift up my foot slightly and just flatten it down, then it'll go back down. So it's doing that again. It's this fabric, this one's quite a sheer fabric, so it tends to do it a little bit more than some of the thicker other ones. The French terries are quite a good one. They're a little bit more stable, and I find sometimes a little bit less stretchy, so they're a bit easy to do sometimes. So just go all the way round, following your circle. And when you get to the end, cut that last bit of terry off, and I'm just going to keep sewing around in a circle just to overlap my first stitches, maybe an inch. I'm going to turn my blade off to finish it off, because otherwise I'm going to be cutting my stitches. So turn the blade off, keep turning, and then to finish it off I lift up my foot and I turn my fabric kind of to the side, I suppose, so it's not going to be sewing on the fabric anymore, and just make a chain which you can then cut off. Where have my scissors gone? Up there. And there we are, one relatively circular pad. So I'll go through that again just so you can see it again. So one piece of terry, place it on there like that. I'm gonna start off here, so foot down, and you're just going to be sewing up to that circle there and keeping it in line with your blade, only cutting, oops, I haven't got my blade on, only cutting your terry fabric, not your top fabric, which is your jersey or your French fabric. And when it catches your top fabric, you want to start turning, and again you're pulling with this hand out of the machine and just gently pushing this one into it, but not pushing, just kind of more letting your hand guide it, I suppose is the better word, and keeping it flat so that this top fabric isn't bunching up at all. Right, cutting off that last bit at the end, I'm going to turn my blade off. I'm going to go over it about an inch. My foot comes up, fabric goes to the back. My overlocker clunked then, I hope that wasn't a bad sign. And then just snipping off the tail. So what I do then to finish these, if I can find a needle, you want a needle with quite a big eye, like this is like an embroidery. I don't know if you can see that. My camera's not focusing. It's like an embroidery needle with quite a big eye. So you're going to get this chain at the back and push it through the eye, and then just stitch it in. So I weave it under, in between the two layers of fabric. If I can do it, there we are. Just push it along for an inch or so, depending on how long your chain, your little tail is on you. There, that, see, pull it, and then if you give it a boop, it disappears. There we go. And the other one, oops. all done. Now when I sell these or give them as gifts, I just press them as well, just to make them nice and flat, and so that they, when you've got them in a stack, they all lay neatly. But obviously you don't need to do that if you're using them yourself. You can go and use them straight away. So there we are, that's it. Hopefully it's given you a few tips on how to do it. And when it comes to making the circle, it's really just a lot of practice. You won't do it on your first and second goes. You'll make probably lots of mistakes. I still do the odd one, and I balls it up. But yeah, it does come with practice. But just like I said, just try and turn that bottom fabric, you know, apply pressure to that bottom one, and it should really go through, especially if you're not using a stretch one. Which is the beauty of the you know, the towelings. They're not very stretchy, so they are easier just to kind of force into a circle. If you were doing that with something stretchy, then it's not really going to work, because you're just going to stretch it all out of shape. So hopefully that's helped. Any questions, then let me know, or if you've got any tips for other people or for me, then please let me know in the comments. Thank you, bye.